So, unlike the trailer for the Joker that I very recently talked about, I'm afraid I've got some bad news if you expected me to bring that kind of positivity for the very recent trailer that we got for Terminator: The Dark Fate. Now, unlike the trailer for the Joker, which I had very positive things to say about it, I'm afraid there was nothing positive about this trailer right here. We all know at this point what kind of film this is going to be from the trailers alone. We know it's going to be woke, it's going to be pushing identity politics to the max. They made it blatant in their trailers. Now, I will be going through various parts of the trailer in this video. Now, I can't play actual footage of the trailer because I don't want to risk any kinds of copyright claims or anything like that, but as always I can show screenshots and pictures. So let's get into this, shall we? So we start out with the opening part of the trailer where we see a confrontation between the new Terminator, or Cyborg Lady, or whatever you want to call it, I still don't know her name yet, and the returning character Sarah Connor, played again by Linda Hamilton. Now, there are a number of problems with both of these types of characters. We've got a new character that they're bringing in, and they're obviously bringing in older characters as well. I'm going to be talking about the problems with the new characters that are quite blatant, the blatant fact being that the characters simply are not interesting, and you can question their acting from the actresses as well. There are also a number of problems as well with development. The characters just overall don't seem very interesting. But if we also talk about the older characters and the older actresses and actors that they're bringing back as well, you kind of get the impression, even though they are good actors, they've done good stuff before, you get the impression with the fact that they're much older now that they are only here to collect a paycheck. It feels very blatant in this film, at least. With it being a Terminator film, you obviously have antagonists as well. Most of the antagonists, when it comes to Terminator films, are usually bad Terminators. And we will be talking about the main antagonist Terminator in a bit later in this video, but I want to talk about the CGI and things like that that we at least seen in this trailer. Now, in my opinion, the CGI was just simply not very good. Honestly, to me, the Terminators, we have this Terminator right here that kind of, I think it like breaks off into multiple Terminators. It's meant to be a new kind of Terminator they brought out for this film, if I'm not mistaken. Honestly, it resembles something that you'd see in a video game, to be honest. It resembles something that you'd see in a PS4 game or something like that. Now, I will give it the benefit of the doubt, okay? Maybe they'll fix the CGI in the actual film when it's released, but you'd expect it to have been fixed by now with the fact that this film is set to be coming out in theatres very soon. In the next clip, we see the antagonist Terminator for the first time. Now, with the fact that it is meant to be the main bad guy, the main antagonist in this film, you'd think they'd build it up. You'd think that they'd show it killing a lot of people. You'd think they'd show it getting into a vicious fight with the protagonist, or the female Terminator, or half Terminator, whatever you prefer to call it. But no, we don't see that. We see instead the female Terminator absolutely obliterate it. In the first clip of the trailer, it's already got beaten up. And it certainly won't be the first time we see this antagonist Terminator get beaten in this trailer. We will get into the other clips of it getting beaten when they come up. We also get more fight scenes from the main protagonist Terminator, female Terminator. And if you notice, by the looks of it, she's fighting a lot of human characters as well, human extras, whatever. We see her beat police officers, we see her beat various soldiers and people like that. And what I have to say is, if you pay attention to it, you'll notice that most of the people that she's actually beating mostly men, which is, well, with the fact that this film is very likely going to be feminist propaganda, I don't really expect anything less. Oh, did you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger is in this and is looking a lot older and greyer than ever? Now, in my opinion, it feels very forced to have him in this film. I mean, he's been in, I think, nearly every other Terminator, if I'm not mistaken. But at this point, with the fact that Schwarzenegger is now in his 70s, I don't know his exact age, but he is in his early 70s, if I'm not mistaken, it does honestly feel like that Schwarzenegger's only in this film to pick up yet another paycheck, like I mentioned with Linda Hamilton earlier. He honestly does not look interested in the slightest in being here, and when you see these actors not even look interested in being there, what you have to ask yourself is why should we be interested if even they're not interested? We then see a clip of the girl learning to use a rifle. It seems Schwarzenegger has chose to set up a shooting range for the young teenage girl, the other protagonist in this. And, well, if we look at the way she's actually holding... For a start, let's look at the way she's actually holding this rifle or grenade launcher, whatever it's meant to be. Honestly, to me, it looks too big for her to hold. I mean, look where she's even got the butt of the rifle. It's not even on her shoulder properly. She's not even holding the rifle correctly. Honestly, I think that rifle might be a little bit too big for you. But regardless, even if the gun was too big for her to even hold, let alone be able to shoot, she was still able to hit the target just fine, because females cannot do anything wrong in these films these days. That would be sexist. We then see yet another clip of the evil Terminator, or the antagonist Terminator, getting into a fight with the cyborg lady again. And, you guessed it, like we saw in the first fight clip, he loses for a second time. Do these writers not understand how to build up an antagonist, build up a villain, or anything like that? The question I've honestly got to ask here is, how do you expect to build a character, build up character development, build the protagonists that do need development, let's be honest, because we don't even know them? How can you build any of these characters up? How can you make your antagonist intimidating? And how can you develop your main protagonists when every time they get into a confrontation, the protagonists are easily beating him, or at least it seems like they're easily beating him in this trailer? Take, for example, the main antagonist from The Dark Knight Rises. Now, I know a lot of people don't like The Dark Knight Rises, but this is an example here. If we talk about Bane, who's arguably the best part of the film, at least in my opinion, if we look at the way they built that character, they built that antagonist, they had him beat the Batman in the first half of the film. They literally have him break his back. If you want us to take your villain seriously, they've got to at least win 1 or 2 fights. You've got to make them look strong. You've got to make them look like a physical threat. And with the fact that we see the antagonist Terminator in Dark Fate get beaten every time we see him, how do you expect us to take him seriously as a threat if he is so easily beaten? Bane is the perfect example of how to build a character up properly and make him seem like a physical threat to the protagonists. And this antagonist Terminator that we get in Dark Fate is the complete contrary to that. Also, talking about the antagonist Terminator, or at least the human form of him, I think it's very interesting if we actually have a look at the uniform he's actually wearing. If we actually have a look, he's wearing a Border Patrol outfit, making him some kind of Border Patrol agent or someone like that. I mean, for God's sake, don't make the allegorical symbolism of where you stand politically too obvious now. I'm expecting to see this guy just lock up children and split them from their parents and put them in cages, like the mainstream media would have you believe when it comes to American immigration. I'm half expecting to see Ocasio-Cortez to come out of nowhere and start screaming into another car park at this point. Throughout the rest of this trailer, we ultimately just get more CGI explosions, stuff that is kind of the equivalent to a modern Michael Bay film, your typical action scene stuff. Except the difference being, I would much rather watch a Michael Bay film over this film. But I think what's quite interesting is if we actually talk about the ending clip where we hear Linda Hamilton literally steal the main quote from Arnold Schwarzenegger or the Terminator, "I'll be back." If you needed a more blatant sign that this film is now infested with feminist identity politics, here it is, right here. Literally having the female characters use lines that the original male protagonists used in the older films that we'd all rather be watching. Overall, when we talk about Terminator Dark Fate, the main question I have to ask to start off with is, does anybody even care about the Terminator at this point, the Terminator franchise? We haven't had a good Terminator film since 1991. Now at this point I'm thinking that the only thing that they think will save the Terminator franchise is by implementing leftist identity politics, which they have made blatant in their trailers and in their posters and all of that stuff. All I've got to say is if they double down with this, which it seems they have, the last thing it will do is save the Terminator franchise. It will instead bury it 6 feet deep. But anyway people, be sure to let us know what you think about Terminator Dark Fate down below. What are your thoughts on the trailers that were released? How do you think the film will perform at the box office? Be sure to let us know what you think about this film down below. Okay gentlemen, this has been Lord Flashheart. Be sure to rate, comment, favourite, share and subscribe, and I'll see you again. Cheerio!